It's time to jump back into some DM's Guild review content. I have a ton of backlog to get through, and people keep sending me stuff regardless. So I'm trying to work through it here and there and mix it up with what I cover. This time, I'm covering the Opus of Intrinsic Substance. This is cantrips to 9th level spells, conjurations, force, illusion, necrotic, psychic, and radiant damage spells. I covered a version similar to this that dealt with elemental magics before, so if you want to see what's contained in this document, stay tuned. So here we are on D&D Beyond, and you can see the Opus of Extrinsic. Oh man, it's really hard for me to say. The Opus is what I'm going to call it for this video. Is a best copper seller. It unfortunately, shockingly, does not have any reviews. What's up with that, people? It's a best copper seller. It only has 2 discussion comments and no reviews, which is a bummer. It is written by DropTheDie, who is a friend of mine, so I'll keep that in mind, and this was provided for review purposes. That being said, I am going to give you my honest opinion on everything as we go through this. It came out last November, so people have had some time to digest it, but I'm going to jump in, and what I'm going to do is, I wrote down a couple of spells here that I always want to go over. So it obviously does have a price tag, right? If we look at it, it's $3.50 to pick it up a copy for yourself. So one, I'm not going to go through everything because it would take me forever to do so because it's 19 pages and there's a ton of text, right? It's a bunch of spells. So I'm going to go through a couple spells and basically give you a spell of every spell level throughout. And I tried to do my best to vary it up to cover the different areas that we're talking about, right? Conjuration, force, illusion, necrotic, psychic, and radiant. So part of the reason, and I had talked to JB from DropTheDie a little bit about this, right? There are not a lot of spells that hit these damage types, right? Force, necrotic, psychic, radiant. Obviously, since this has been put out, we've had things like new Unearthed Arcana, like the psionic Unearthed Arcana, and that gave us a lot of psychic damage and things like that. But also the interesting one here is conjurations and illusion. I'll agree 100% with conjurations for sure. There's not a lot of spells that let you summon things into existence. And there were like ways you could build your entire character in older editions around the ability to summon things and being a summoner, right? We've got a couple of spells like the animate dead type spells, but those are technically necromancy spells. You've got like animate objects and conjure animals, conjure fae, any of that kind of stuff. But there's not a ton of things that let you summon things into existence. And illusions, there are some, but again, there isn't too many of those either. So we can see up front, we do have the list of the spell lists of all the new spells for each one of the classes. Something that he did that I really, really enjoy and I'm very, very happy is there. It was actually, I think, a suggestion, possibly by me and some other folks on the last one, is this. Here's the thing, and we have the little breakdown right here. Let me zoom this in a little bit. That shows, right? So Decaying Veil, for instance, is only for clerics, sorcerers, and warlock. So even though I had the spell list at the beginning, I don't have to go back and look at it. I can be lazy and just read through. So I wanted to talk about here Valor as a cantrip, which is an illusion cantrip here for bards, clerics, and wizards. It's an action, and what I like about it is it's a unique kind of support cantrip. Excuse me. Single creature of your choice within 30 feet cannot be frightened until the start of your next turn. If they're already frightened, it suppresses the condition. And then rather than like increasing damage or something like that, as the cantrips increase, it allows you to affect an additional creature. And I like that. It's something unique and new, and I haven't seen that before. And I don't think it's overpowered. It's only a turn. And I like it. Next, I wanted to go over Wave of Force, another cantrip here. This is for bards, warlock, and wizards. Evocation, it's a 10-foot cone, which is something we've never seen in a cantrip. Blast of Arcane Energy comes out in a 10-foot cone. Creatures in the area must succeed on a strength saving throw or take 2d4 damage, and then it increases by a d4 for each level. So, I'm going to take an assumption here based on the design philosophy, is that while this is a cone and can hit multiple creatures, it does D4s and it only increases by a D4, so the damage in theory is going to be less overall than something that's going to be doing like 5 or 4d10 at 17th level. And it's a strength saving throw, which a lot of monsters have high strength, so that will likely not be a thing. Or will, likely they have the ability to succeed, and it only being on Bard, Warlock, and Wizard, the only way that this could potentially deal like half damage would be an Evocation Wizard. But for the most part, if anybody succeeds, they're not going to take any damage. So let's dive into the level 1 to 9 spells here. So the first one I wanted to go over was Sinkhole. This is a conjuration spell. Druid, Rangers, Sorcerers, Wizards. A new spell for Rangers. That's kind of uncommon. Still doesn't fix the fact that they're Rangers, but hey, we'll keep going here. Range is 60 feet, 1 action. You cause a 15-foot square of earth, stone, or wood that you can see to just collapse. A huge or smaller creature in the area must make a dex saving throw. On a fail, they're trapped in the sinkhole. While trapped, their speed is 0. And as an action, the trapped creature can make a strength check opposed by your spellcasting ability modifier. On a success, it frees itself from the collapsed ground. Additionally, the ground in that area becomes difficult terrain until cleared away. Each 5-foot square portion of the area requires at least a minute to clear by hand. Nice and simple, a good battlefield control spell, and it is non-concentration, which is nice, because as a druid, you don't have a lot of those. So this is a good spell that can last for a little while, trapping people in it. Alright, level 2... Death's Breath was the one I wanted to discuss here. Cleric, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard. 1 action, a 60-foot, range is 60 feet, a 10-foot radius. Flood a 10-foot radius sphere with negative energy. Creatures in the area make a con save or take 5d6 necrotic damage. The corpse in the area, when it cast, becomes invested with a malevolent spark of unlife and lashes out at a creature within 5 feet of it. Make a melee spell attack. On a hit, the target takes bludgeoning damage equal to 1d6 plus your spellcasting ability modifier. I really like this spell because not only is it just AoE damage, but it also has a secondary part where like you bring an undead corpse back to life to do some quick damage if you hit. Again, that secondary hit could crit in theory, but I like it because it really allows you to play with the battlefield a little more and maneuver, where enemy corpses are can now be a boon to you, so that's something you need to keep in mind, and I like that. Alright, our 3rd level spell here is an illusion spell. This is Conceal Contents, and I'm sure there's more applications than just what I'm thinking, but I really like this in theory. Bard, Cleric, Warlock, Wizard. It is a 1-hour casting time, but you infuse a powerful illusion into a single tome or container no more than 10 pounds, such as a journal, spellbook, or lockbox. All script inside it is that's targeted by the spell, including the cover, is obscured with magic illusion that make it impossible to read by anyone other than the caster or creatures designated by the caster when they cast the spell. Any creature attempting to decipher the illusion must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be forced to return the book to the caster as though under the effects of the suggestion spell. A container targeted by this spell appears empty upon visual inspection. Any contents are rendered invisible and give off no odor. The illusion ends if the contents of the container are removed or the container is destroyed. So obviously there's the very useful thing of like keeping your second set of books or your ledger, your spell book or whatever it is under this spell so people can't read it. But the idea of putting it on a container as well as some sort of like super secret lockbox is even cooler. And, it's nice that clerics get this spell, which is, something you might not think they would have, so I do enjoy that. And it's just a clever use of an illusion spell, and it has some baked-in suggestion-style magic, which is great, because like rather than having in the front, if lost, please return to, it just activates the spell to help hopefully make people return it to you. So our 4th level is more of a defensive spell here. This is Armor of Brilliance. This is Cleric and Paladins. Unfortunately, Paladins, you're not going to get access to this till way later on, but it is a minute to cast, lasts for 10 minutes, non-concentration. Target creature gains a +1 bonus to armor class for the 10 minutes. The first time a creature hits the target with a melee attack on the turn, that creature takes 2d4 radiant damage and must succeed on a con save or be blinded until the end of the next turn. So it not only gives you a boost to AC, it's going to deal retributive damage, and it can possibly inflict a blind, which is great, CC to help make things easier for your party to survive and escape. Reminder that you can only do opportunity attacks against creatures you can see, so if someone's blinded, you can move away without having to use disengage, and that's 10 minutes non-concentration. All right, our 5th level here is Consign Blood, a necromancy spell for clerics and druids. 1 action, a 60-foot radius, and I like it because I like how it functions. 1 creature you can see within range takes 30 necrotic damage. No save, 30 damage, but you're blowing a 5th level slot, and you need to have an opal worth 100 gold to even use it. And then, another creature of your choice that you can see within 10 feet of the target regains 15 hit points. That means, half of the damage dealt. This spell has no effect on constructs or undead. This can't be upcast, so it's kind of a, it's a 5th level slot. You could do a lot with a 5th level slot. But to just flat out deal a base 30 damage and give somebody 15 hit points, those people don't have to have 1 or more hit points. This could be a way to just do a quick zap to an enemy and then pick up an ally on the ground who's unconscious by giving them 15 hit points. It has a lot of combat application. It even has some potentially out of combat application if you wanted to use it as a weird balancing, or if somebody has more hit points and I want to give them some of your health and you can roll hit dice on the short rest. There's a lot of options for it. And it's nice to have another just flat out damaging spell for clerics or druids, again, non-concentration. Our 6th level spell rather is Psychic Storm. Where is that? Here it is. Bard, Warlock, Wizard. 1 action, range of 60 feet, concentration up to a minute. 1 creature you can see within range is racked with wave after wave of mind-crippling psychic energy. The target must make an intelligence save, which are rare, or take 8d10 psychic damage and an additional 3d10 psychic damage at the start of each of its turns, as long as you maintain concentration. A repeated save at the end of each of its turn, ending the effect on a success. Each time a creature takes damage from the spell, it loses on any concentration on a spell it's concentrating on. That's a very unique ability that we've never seen given to a spell. Usually it's you take the damage and you have to make a con save, but the idea that your mind is being racked with endless wave after wave of crippling mental energy makes sense to me that you would just drop concentration because you're trying to deal with the insane, craziness that's happening in your brain and the pain. So that just makes it drop. And I like that. That's, again, a unique ability or, additional effect of a spell we haven't seen before. All right. Our 7th level spell is Blast Wave. It's right here on this page for Bards, Sorcerers, and Wizards. 1 action, self-centered, 20-foot radius. Each creature of your choice within 20 feet must make a strength saving throw. On a fail, they take 6d10 plus 10 force damage and is knocked prone. On a success, they take half damage and aren't knocked prone. This is sort of a boosted version of Destructive Wave, the Paladin spell. And our 8th level is Moonfire, because I'm a huge fan of Selene, and I could not pick this one because it's a Moonfire spell. Cleric, Druid, and Wizard, 1 action, range is 240 feet, which is, I think, a range I don't know if that increment's typically used. You need an opal hoop worth 500 gold to do it. Concentration up to a minute. A soft pillar of glittering light beams down in a 10-foot radius. 120-foot high cylinder centered on a point within range. Until the spell ends, bright light fills the cylinder. When a creature enters the spell area for the first time or ends its turn there, is scorched by silvery white ghostly flames. They make a con save or take 10d6 radiant damage on a fail, half as much on a success. As an action, you can move the pillar of light up to 30 feet. If a creature comes in contact with the light, they must make the saving throw against the spell's damage. A creature can take damage from the spell only once per turn. Undead killed by the spell erupt in a flash of brilliant light, dealing 5 points of radiant damage to each undead within 5 feet of them. So not only does it do some Firestorm-style damage, and it does basically the same damage as Firestorm, but it's all radiant and it's consistent, so it's like a moonbeam on steroids. And it causes undead to blow up and damage other undead. And then my 9th level spell here is Blackmaw's Unbreaking Barrier. Bard, Sorcerer, and Wizard. 1 action, range of 150 feet, requires a bar of adamantine worth 200 gold that is consumed by the spell. A massive impenetrable barrier of inky black arcane force springs into existence within range. The wall is a 1/4 inch thick, up to 50 feet tall, up to 300 feet wide, and lasts until dispelled, which is, again, when something says it lasts until it's dispelled, it means it's permanent until someone takes the time to cast Dispel Magic to remove it. The wall cuts through a creature's space when it appears. It shunts them to one side or the other, you choose. Nothing can physically pass through the barrier, and is immune to all damage. A creature that touches the wall or hits it with a melee attack takes 15d10 force damage and is pushed 10 feet directly away from it. The wall also extends into the ethereal plane, blocking ethereal travel through it. You are made aware when the wall is attacked or dispelled while you are on the same plane of existence as the wall. So that is just a really cool, unique sort of 9th level spell that's, normally they're usually really high damage or like crazy world-ending stuff or game-changing things like Wish. This is just like, I'm putting up a wall, good luck getting through it. And that has a ton of applications. It's not something like Wish where you can possibly never do it again. You could, in theory, build a house out of these walls over time, right? You put one up, wait a day, put up another one. And over time, since they last until dispelled, you could build yourself a little house out of those given walls, those adamantine walls, as long as you've got the adamantine bars that are consumed for the spell components. So that's it for this. I just wanted to bring this up to your guys' attention. I like it. I'm always looking for new spells. And the problem, I've said this many a time, I'm fine homebrewing just about anything in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, or Dungeons & Dragons in general. But the one thing that I feel the most reserved about when I make stuff for 5th edition is spells. I don't know why that is. I have no problem making subclasses or races or magic items. But for some reason, spells are something that kind of eludes me, and I don't feel comfortable a lot of the time adding new spells to the game. Just, I don't know, it's just a pet peeve, or not even a pet peeve, it's just like a qualm that I have. I don't want to do it. I don't know why. So when other people put together spells, I do take them extremely, I looked at them, very critically. And there are a lot of times where I read other people's spells and I'm like, this is so overpowered given the level and what it can do. There's absolutely no way I would use this, and I'd recommend most people don't. That being said, the stuff contained in both this and the Elemental Substance document that was the previous video I had done, I think are really well. And I think that's largely chalked up to the fact that JB kind of understands balance, right? There's a section in the DMG that talks about creating spells, and when you look at a spell, I personally, and whether or not this is the design philosophy on the wizard side, but I look at other spells of the given level for based on the damage. If it does damage, how much damage does it do? How big is the area of effect? Does it have a secondary effect? Does the class that's getting this new spell have anything similar to that? Are they getting something new? Again, druids getting non-concentration spells is huge, because most of a druid's good spells are concentration, which means you're going to be locked into only one per combat. If you're lucky, maybe multiple, but that's just because through multiple castings. So I recommend that you pick up, if you're looking for more spells, especially unique types of damage here, as well as the conjuration and illusions. Those are really different things we don't typically see people making. Usually it's just a whole bunch of spells, but these are targeted into a few areas that I do think rightfully could use additional support. So I'm curious what you guys think of the Opus of Extrinsic Substance, I believe is how you say it. So please go ahead and leave comments down below to let me and JB know how your thoughts are on this document. Anything you'd like to see, anything you'd like to change, or if there's anything you'd like to see in the future, more documents like this covering additional spell types, what would they be? You suggest them, there's a better chance we can get those to actually come into existence. And all I do ask is if you do decide to go pick this up, and I ask you to do this with any DM's Guild thing you go and pick up. If you go out and pick up a copy of it and you do like it, leave a review. It does help the reviewers to want to make more content, inspire them to keep going. Or if you do have a genuine complaint, leave a discussion, complaint, and a reason why, so they can potentially update it. Remember, these things are released on DM's Guild. They're PDFs. If you come up with a glaring thing that you find is missing in the document, or a huge typo or a miswording, you can suggest that to the creator, and they can just go in, update that, and then re-upload the newest version, and then future people buying that or yourself can download that new version with the issues removed. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoy this. I'm trying to jump around on the content for the DMs Guild stuff, as well as the content on the channel, so you're not getting too much back to back to back of the same thing. Let me know what you think, and if you want to see more DMs Guild stuff in the future, I hope you subscribe. You know what? I'm not even going to go into the whole subscription, ring the bell nonsense. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.